The pregnant woman's eyes widened as the German shepherd barked sharply at her, the sound echoing off the terminal walls. She instinctively took a step back, one hand cradling her belly in protection. "Please, make him stop," she pleaded, eyes darting around in desperation. But the dog, Hunter, held his ground, growling low, his body tense, his stare locked on her like she was concealing something dangerous. Officer Jason Riley exchanged a quick look with the other TSA security officers around him. Hunter wasn't the kind of canine to bark without cause. He was trained to detect threats, drugs, explosives, concealed weapons. But this felt different. "Is it possible she's carrying something illegal?" One of the junior officers asked under his breath, his brow furrowed in concern. A tall officer with a sharp jawline and clipped voice stepped forward. "Ma'am, we need to ask you a few questions," he said firmly. The woman, early 30s, visibly pregnant, grew pale. "I don't understand," she whispered. "I haven't done anything wrong." Murmurs erupted around the security line as travelers watched, some craning their necks to see past each other. Some wore expressions of suspicion, others concern. Jason hesitated. There was no obvious threat. She hadn't set off any alarms. But Hunter had never been wrong. Not once. Trusting his partner's instincts, Jason made the call. "We need to escort her to his secondary screening." Two officers stepped forward and gently, but firmly guided the woman toward a private room. She went willingly, but visibly shaken, her breath shallow, one hand trembling slightly as it hovered over her belly. "Please," she said again, barely louder than a breath. "I don't know what's happening." Jason followed closely behind, Hunter at his side. The shepherd was still alert, his muscles taut, ears forward, eyes never leaving the woman. Jason had worked with him for 4 years. He had never seen Hunter behave this insistently before. Inside the private screening room, an officer began carefully searching the woman's carry-on while another prepared the scanner. A female officer stepped closer, voice softer than the rest. "Do you have any medical conditions we should be aware of?" The woman shook her head quickly. "No. I'm 7 months pregnant. That's all." Her voice faltered, and her eyes darted between the officers as if she expected something far worse. Outside the room, Hunter began to pace, whining under his breath, his claws tapping anxiously against the tile floor. Jason frowned. Something wasn't adding up. If she wasn't hiding contraband, then what on earth had Hunter picked up on? The room grew still, the kind of uneasy quiet that settles before something goes terribly wrong. Then, the woman gasped and clutched her stomach, her face tightening with pain. "Something's wrong," she whispered, panic rising in her voice. Beads of sweat formed on her forehead, and she staggered slightly before collapsing into the chair behind her. Her hands clung to her belly, and her breathing turned labored. "Get medical help now," Jason barked, his tone leaving no room for delay. One of the officers radioed for paramedics, while another steadied the woman, whose legs had begun to shake violently. Her fear was undeniable, but something else was creeping in. It wasn't just fear. It was distress, and not the kind that came from an interrogation. Something real was happening. Outside, Hunter scratched at the door frantically, his behavior escalating into full-blown distress. Jason had never seen him like this. Not ever. The officer searching the bag stepped back, face pale. "Is she going to labor?" he asked uncertainly. No, it's too early." The woman gasped, crying out again as another wave of pain crashed through her. "Please help me." A paramedic team burst through the door seconds later, equipment in hand. The lead medic knelt beside her, voice calm but urgent. "Ma'am, we're going to get you to a hospital, okay? Just stay with me." Jason stepped aside as they checked her vitals, Hunter pressing against his leg, whining anxiously. One of the paramedics glanced up, alarmed. "Her pulse is all over the place. We need to move now." As they prepared the stretcher, Hunter suddenly lunged forward and sniffed the air around the woman, his ears flattening. He let out a low growl, not of aggression, but of deep unease. "What is it, boy?" Jason murmured, bending down. Then one of the paramedics froze. Wait. He pressed gently on her abdomen, his hand moving with precision. His face suddenly went still. Something else is happening. The woman began to sob, her voice broken and hoarse. I don't know what's wrong. Please, just save my baby. Jason felt his stomach knot. But what exactly had he detected? We got internal rupture, the medic confirmed, his voice sharp now. If we don't get her into surgery right now, we'll lose both mother and child. Jason's blood ran cold. Hunter hadn't been barking because of something illegal. He'd been trying to save their lives. The terminal exploded into motion as the paramedics rushed the woman out on the stretcher. People stepped aside, stunned, watching as she was wheeled through the gates. Her eyes were glassy now, her breathing faint. Stay with us, one of the medics said, squeezing her hand. Jason kept pace, his throat tight. Had it not been for Hunter's instincts, they never would have caught this in time. As they reached the ambulance, the woman turned her head weakly, her lips parting. Thank you, she whispered, not to the paramedics, not to Jason, but to the dog. Hunter let out a low whimper, his body still as she was loaded into the ambulance. Jason reached down and scratched his ears. You did good, buddy, he said softly. The ambulance doors slammed shut, and within seconds it was gone, sirens wailing in the distance. Jason stood frozen for a moment, heart pounding. Would she make it? With a baby? Hours passed slowly. He sat on a bench outside the hospital, Hunter resting at his feet, though the dog's ears twitched with every passing footstep. Jason absent-mindedly stroked his fur, eyes trained on the emergency room entrance. Finally, a doctor emerged, clipboard in hand. His expression was unreadable at first, and Jason's heart sank. But then the doctor gave a faint smile. She made it. Both of them. They're stable now. Jason exhaled, not realizing until that moment how tightly he'd been wound. Thank God, he whispered, looking down at Hunter, whose tail thumped softly against the ground. The German shepherd seemed to understand the relief in the air. The doctor hesitated. There was a rupture that hadn't been detected earlier, he explained. If she hadn't gotten help when she did, she and the baby wouldn't have made it. He shook his head, glancing at Hunter. I don't know how your dog sensed it, but he did. Just then, a nurse walked up holding a folded note. From the patient, she said gently. Jason took it and unfolded it with care. It read, Tell the dog he's my angel. Jason's eyes welled up, and he looked at his partner, the dog who had once again done more than any human could. And for that day, at least, instinct had become a miracle.